So my name is Rod. I make music as Bright Light, which is sort of disco and 80s, 90s influenced pop music. But also, I'm a huge horror movie fan. I grew up desperate to rent all the horror movies from the video store in a small coal mining valley, which is very Scream-like. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere, this house in the middle of nowhere. And I just became really obsessed with horror movies as time went on. And so here I am, a kind of wild, neon-tinged, horror-loving gay. Yes, so it's a line from Gremlins, which is every child's most traumatizing film, I think, for a certain period of time. The aesthetic, I think, specifically for the first album, I drew a lot of my clothing influence, and my friend did. My friend styled most of that first album campaign, but it was very much in the sort of giallo villain and hero world, like lots of sharp suits and sort of like moody colors and crazy worlds created with the lighting and the smoke and the atmosphere. So stylistically, I think horror films have definitely influenced me. The third album that I did choreography was based on scenes from movies that I really loved. And I referenced one in my favorite Alien film, Alien Resurrection, which I'm obsessed with. And the scene where Sigourney Weaver falls through the walkway into that like nest of aliens, when she's writhing around, I wrote a song about that called Kiss for Kiss. And it's about like love and danger. That's my little horror moment. Last year, I did a horror video reimagining homage kind of piece last Halloween. It came out on October 13th, Friday the 13th. Me and a friend who's also a giant horror fan reenacted a kind of mashup of April Fool's Day, Clue, Blood and Black Lace, and a few other horror references into a music video for Down to One. So the song's about like kind of like knocking off your competition for a love rival, and it's based on how those previously mentioned like cunty women are like vying for each other's like, you know, men, money, like that world of like lust and betrayal in things like Blood and Black Lace and like Nine Guests for a Crime and things like that. The song is like diving into my love of giallo and that kind of, you can't trust anyone, but you feel fabulous and you look really good and you like live in a great house, that kind of thing. It's so funny because people talk about like horror music, but I find the scores to be wildly divergent. So I'll give you like a couple of different categories. If you want the sort of like gorgeous cinematic heartstring with a slash of terror in it, I would say like Pino Donaggio, specifically the Blowout soundtrack. Blowout's not really horror, it's a thriller, but it is my favorite film. It's absolutely amazing. And his work on like Dress to Kill and Carrie are amazing. His type of like gorgeous orchestral score and like Berto Pisano's Interrobang, those are two like brilliant scores. Then you've got like the kind of like more terror things of like maybe John Carpenter's and Ennio Morricone's The Thing score is seminal. The Fog is better by John Carpenter, but The Thing is more iconic. You've obviously got like the Demoni soundtrack by Claudio Simonetti, part of Goblin. So I guess I would say the Suspiria score also, even though I don't personally love to listen to that. I find that better within the realm of the film. M83's score to Knife Plus Heart is amazing, and you can dance to it. It's super cool. All of the my brain is Charles Bernstein, all of his scores, April Fool's Day, all of the work that he did on like Deadly Friend and like the Nightmare on Elm Street, like absolutely iconic, and that's more in like the camp world. Yeah, but also one of my other favorites, I say they're all my favorites, Death Walks at Midnight by Gianni Ferrier, is stunning, and it goes from like like kind of like spaghetti western-esque to like gorgeous little moments of like female vocals, breathy, tense, gorgeous. It gives you everything. It gives you like the four seasons in one score. I think it's got a lot deeper. So I think as a kid, or say, for example, very specifically growing up where I did, my access to horror was what was on display at the video store, which I have some VHSs here as little prompts. It was things like April Fool's Day, Lumber Party Massacre 2. This was a big favorite, Dolls. I remember seeing that. The Hellraiser. I remember walking into the video store and there was like a life-size Pinhead, and it scared the fuck out of me. I wasn't allowed to watch that as a kid, but I remember seeing that and just like having that image in my brain of like the nails driven into your head, like absolutely terrifying. Grace Jones Vamp, iconic. What else was in the video store? Oh, like this was a later one, but like The Faculty, I remember that so vividly. Everything about it is amazing. The cast was like the dream kind of like misfit cast of like 90s cinema. The soundtrack is amazing. Oh God, I love that film so much. Oh my God. So then from that, my relationship has changed with horror because I was able to learn about more types of horror. Like giallo is my favorite, but you know, there was no way you could see those as a kid, or even I think up until kind of recently, where things became available online or through DVDs or re-releases and stuff like that. So I got to learn about this whole other world and see the soundtracks really drew me in, like the Pino Donaggio scores and Berta Pisani and Stelvio Cipriani. Like that world is just so amazing to me, and like the gorgeous interiors and like cunty women. Like it's so fabulous. And so my favorite horror movies kind of shifted over time, and I was able to see like the sort of dark Italian human horror versus the kind of like completely spectral and monster based world. And it was really cool. Like Daughters of Darkness is one of my favorites. Blood and Black Lace is my absolutely most favorite horror film of all time. Mario Bava classic. I have a VHS player here and a projector. So I started finding old VHS tapes when one of the local record stores had like a bargain bin for them. And so my friend gave me his old VHS player, and they were like $2 VHSs. But I love the fact that they have the trailers on them. So I think it's so fun to get like the X rental copies and see like what other movies they're advertising before them. It's wild. It's a trip. So I've been enjoying with the VHS thing. Like they're so expensive now actually, which is really frustrating. But some of the films that were never released on DVD or probably are yet to be released with all of these companies reissuing stuff. But finding some like weird, obscure horrors like Liza Minnelli's Christmas Horror Special.
Ding-a-ling, 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 ding-a-ling. Ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling. I feel so Christmassy. I feel so mistletoe. Just don't know with mistletoe. Ding-a-ling, 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 ding-a-ling. Ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling. When I close my eyes and I really try, I can almost see snowflakes fly. Ding-a-ling, 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 ding-a-ling.
My favorite is the head of the fashion house in Blood and Black Lace. She's so dark and wild and fabulous. I love Death Walks at Midnight and Death Walks on High Heels as like a duo. Susan Scott, I believe her name is a fantastic actor, and she like absolutely nails those roles. She's so good in them. Other giallo films, I actually started to make a note of them. The film Puzzle. The lead actress in Puzzle is amazing. Growing up, that's not really something that I ever thought I would see in any type of cinema, let alone my favorite genre. And you can see probably just behind me there that that's the Knife Plus Heart soundtrack. Knife Plus Heart, I think, is in my top 5 films of all time. It's so deliciously filmed. The soundtrack is amazing. Vanessa Paradis is just, oh my God, she shatters my heart in that film. Everyone is so fucking hot. Like it's so cool. It's like it's the coolest film, the coolest film. And the fact the protagonist is like a lesbian and it's not the gay man that runs it as well. It's just amazing. There are trans characters. Like everything about that film is perfect in terms of queer representation in horror. And I think it is like a masterpiece. It should be studied by absolutely anybody trying to make cinema, let alone horror films. It's a complete masterpiece. So things like that. And then there's obviously more mainstream horror now, like It's a Wonderful Knife, which came out. There's like When the Trash Man Knocks is one that I watched the other day, which is great. Like low budget horror films. My friends made one called Death Drop Gorgeous. Also like amazing to see the leap that they made between Death Drop Gorgeous and Saint Drogo. It felt like someone gave them $1 million and no one gave them any money. What they learned from just between those two films is phenomenal. And I highly recommend that everyone goes to see Saint Drogo. It's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's difficult, I think, for indie filmmakers because you either do like the festival circuit, which means your film takes like 2.5 years to come out, you know, after doing all of the festivals and then buying for distribution and that kind of thing. Like it seems crazy to me that you can't just get your movies on to things like Netflix and Shudder and whatever in the way that an independent musician can put them onto Spotify and whatever. And surely you make nothing from that, but just the visibility and then the ability to find an audience. Like it's so, I actually have a song in Death Drop Gorgeous. I wrote like what Janet Fitness's performance track that's like a really stupid like drag queen clackety clack number. I wrote that for them. And I really wanted to show people that film and I couldn't for so long, and it was so frustrating to sort of have to wait it out, you know, like it's hard not to be able to share work that you care about. I think for me, the horror world was so imaginative and they kind of reimagined what horror was and what your sources of danger were. So for me, like growing up in a small coal mining valley, danger was sort of like people hiding in the woods, but it was also like in society, like people who were oppressive and people who were like very single-minded about what it is like to be a person and what you should be and what your role was in society. So horror let me be scared about more fantastical things than just real people. So I kind of loved the monsters and the vampires. Like I used to wear a cape all the time. I really, really wanted to be a vampire. I was a very flamboyant child. But then, you know, things like the Nightbreed world where it's like freaks and weirdos where they were victimized, but you sympathize with them and it shows you like society is oppressing people and it's picking on them for absolutely no reason. Like that's a big one for me. And then you've got like the Gremlins world and like the Hellraiser world. I think for queer people, horror is kind of a safe place where you are not the only victim by society. Like you see lots of different prejudices and you see lots of different dangers and you see lots of different timelines, like dimensions of yourself, you know, parallel worlds of yourself play out. And it's just kind of amazing to suspend disbelief for a minute and sort of think about the world that's beyond where you're from.